Indian Trail Council meeting for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. If we would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have some special guests here from Spirit of Joy, Troop 97, Boy Scouts. If y'all come up and lead us in the, come out and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll just come stand right over here.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guys, thank you. Thank you for being here. Getting your badge? Okay. All right, if we'll all remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Before I read events, I came in a little early today, and if you notice, there's two flowers that are sitting in the chairs back here. I've been doing this on council for a long time, and I put two flowers there today because I had spoken about Samantha Towns, who had been on our planning board, who had also been on the public safety committee, did so much for our town, and she, for many years, came to every meeting. And Samantha didn't have family here, so her family was the town. And she was a very special person. She filled the room up with laughter. And her partner in crime, as they called themselves, was Shirley Howe. And Shirley was not on council. This was after Shirley was on council, and they used to sit in the back of the room. And Shirley's also passed away. And Kathy Higgins, who is still with us, was the other partner in crime with them. But they were very special people, and we all remember Shirley. And so I put a rose back there for both of them to be remembered today. And, you know, Shirley we've missed for a long time, and was a great citizen in Indian Trail, did many wonderful things. But Samantha and her are together. So thank you for everything that you've done. And I just wanted to recognize her, Samantha, who filled our room with laughter many times, and was a very serious person about getting things done here. So I just wanted to pass that along today. So yeah, when you go home tonight, again, go hug somebody, go hug your family members, because you never know how long any of us are going to be here. And Samantha passed away on the 4th of July 4th. So anyway, so that brings us to events. We had the July 4th parade, and that was a complete success. I hope most of you came. We had a good time. It was a little warm out there, but I think everybody enjoyed themselves. On the July the 26th, we have Supersize It in Chestnut Square Park. We're going to supersize your favorite games: Battleship, Checkers, Jenga, and more. And then on August the 6th is a big day. It's National Night Out at Chestnut Park, 6 p.m. Come out and support local law enforcement and first responders. Free hot dogs, chips, and a frozen treat that's going to be provided. That's always a big day. And a couple of years ago, we had a big old, who was in that big thunderstorm when we were out there? It was a monster storm, but we still managed to pull it off and come out and support our law enforcement for all they do for us, and first responders. They do a lot. With that being said, we've got the events done. Do I have any additions? And I think we do. We have any agenda additions and deletions. Anybody want to add that? Crystal, I see you pulling your...
Yeah, I can add it. I want to make a motion to add item 10B, resolution authorizing the town to assert counterclaims against Waste Connections of North Carolina.
Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda then?
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, presentations. We have a presentation of our Government Finance Office Association, the GFO, the Distinguished Budget Award for fiscal year 2023 and 2024 budget. And I have a plaque up here, and I know Alicia's here. Both Alicias are here, as a matter of fact. And Jim, if you would all come up and just, because it's because of you that we've got this award and all the fine things, give us a brief summarization of what this award is, and we've done it before. You gonna let Jim go up here by himself?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, it all started off one day at Mike's office. He said, Jim, can we do anything to upgrade the budget book? I like the numbers. I like the 18.5 cents. I went back and I asked Alicia Massey, the Assistant Finance Director, I said, Alicia, here's what we want to do. Would you be the project manager? And she accepted willingly. And her counterpart, the other Alicia, they worked diligently on it. And it just took off. And we ended up, about 90 days later, we got notified from Chicago that we won the award. We're the only town in Union County that has it. And it's a good feeling. It upgrades the town. You guys want to add anything?
Well, you're both got to come out here in just a minute anyway, so, but I would like to say that I think most of us know that Indian Trail's a AAA town, rated town, and that has a lot to do with our finance department and all the good things the wonderful things that you guys do and make our town a better town. And you also got to go up to Winston-Salem, and you actually presented up in Winston-Salem and represented Indian Trail. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Alicia led the way with that, and we had about 50 people, and Alicia was able to explain, and a couple of people came up to us afterwards and wanted some information, how they could do it, and so it was pretty prestigious, but I think we put Indian Trail on the map a little bit.
You did, and I was honored to be there with you and sitting up there and watching a room full of people congratulate you and learn from Indian Trail.
Yeah.
And I think we're setting the pace for other towns to do and be successful, and hopefully there'll be a AAA town also. So I just want to thank you for this award. Anybody would like to pitch in or say anything else? Congratulations.
Thank you.
I got a nice plaque for you. Come on, girls. Council, you want to come up here with us, with me on this one there? Thank you for all you do. Appreciate y'all. You know, I kind of feel silly. I was going to take one of them.
Jim, I think you need to lay on the floor.
He would. Don't tell him, he would.
Perfect, all right. Okay, we got everybody, all right. Everybody ready? All right.
That brings us to public comments. By addressing council, you acknowledge you have read the town's public comment rules and will abide by them. Debbie, Perry, come on up and.
Hi, my name is Debbie Perry, and I live at 1009 Fountain Brook Drive in Brandon Oaks. I've just got a couple of things. You know, around May 22nd, our street was from Breeze to the end of the cul-de-sac was involved in the repaving, and they really did a fast, good job, what I thought. Right now, in front of our driveway, we've got a hole, like around, it's only 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter, but if it doesn't get fixed, the water's gonna go in, and we're gonna have the same problem we had before. So You know, I think, I'm addressing it with you because I didn't know where else to go. And then on the various streets that have been repaved in Brandon Oaks, we had speed humps on them. And we have you all know, because I've said it before, and there's other people that have said it, we've got a problem with the speeding in Brandon Oaks. I'm just wondering, like with the speed humps, when they're going to get back, when they're going to be put back and replaced, like that. And then the one on the live with the mayor and Captain Mullis one time, you very kindly gave out a phone number so that people see people passing on the double line. You gave a number that they could call in. We've tried in Brandon Oaks, tried to tell people, you got to go to the right place to get any, something done about it, you know, instead of just going on social media and complaining and complaining. And I'm just hoping that the people are using that number and trying to, you know, help us out with the speeding and everything. That's it. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you. That's the end of public comments as far as sign-ups. Anybody have any feedback? Debbie, I would like to tell you that if, I see Adam's back there getting information. And I saw the town manager also doing writing, so. Debbie, I was getting ready to say, we cannot, is there still a big speeding problem? Is that what one of the things that you're wanting to help?
I mean, we're still getting it. Today, this morning, someone posted a picture of a car, and they said they sent it to the sheriff's office, but they passed on double lines, and it's crazy. They're using it as thoroughfare. And,
Well-
it's dangerous.
Well, I'm glad you did what you did. Captain Mullis sitting right over here. I've had several people call up in the last week or two for different reasons. People speeding in road. Captain's been Johnny on the spot as far as getting somebody out there to at least. You can't police it 24 hours, as you know, all day. And you know, people are not going to do things if they see somebody out there. But he's been extremely helpful in policing areas, and I know he just heard what you said also. So, you know, we're working on it, and I know town manager and also Adam both wrote down to get it taken care of. So, thank you for coming, thank you for speaking, and thank you for coming frequently. I appreciate you being here. Okay. That brings us to law enforcement update. Captain Mullis. And by the way, while you're going up there, I'd like to recognize Mr. Todd Elmore sitting in there. It's been a while since I've seen him. But Todd, you were not a captain, but the chief, weren't you, of the sheriff's department? And he retired, and I thought you were at the beach. So glad to have you tonight. There you go.
Well, council, mayor,
Yes.
good to see you on this wonderful and illustrious cool night, July afternoon. I said that just for you, Ms. Dawson Brooks. Hopefully that'll help you out a little bit there. Now, like I say, normally, you know, we give you guys a report on the, like a traffic report, one meeting, and then a property crimes report the other meeting. But since we only have one meeting this month, I'll give you both if that's all right. But you guys have a few packets, and I said earlier, if you guys would rather me email this, I'll be glad to send that on an email, so we'll quit. Or if you don't want it, I'll be glad to quit printing it. But either way, however you want me to do it, I'll be glad to. But the just events by nature, if you look at that one, you can see on the very last page, all of those come through there as things that we have done. Calls for service, self-initiated calls, business checks, traffic stops, everything's included. If you look at that very last page, you'll see that the total calls for the town of Indian Trail for the month of June were 4,239. So as a summary to that, the next one says the report summary. Again, breaks down what those reports were taken for. And out of those 4,000, whether it be calls for service or self-initiated calls, we took 218 reports in the town. Your Part 1 crimes are broken down on your pie chart, so you can see kind of what those are there. And the last page is our, like I say, I think this is kind of important because we work, everybody, as you have mentioned, traffic is important. Anybody who comes through Indian Trail, that's the, they say, man, how do you deal with the traffic? It's not how do you deal with the town, it's not how you deal with the mayor, it's not how do you deal with the traffic. So I like I say, I like to give you guys kind of one of our biggest issues is, we have cars who work accidents. Of course, they work traffic and write citations for speeding and everything else in the book. I actually wrote 2 about 30 minutes before we came in here, so we're trying to spread the love. But we have had, in the month of June, we had 116 wrecks inside the town. Out of 116, our guys, just Indian Trail officers, took 66 of those reports. Like I say, we just had a really bad one out here on Waxhaw Indian Trail that our guys, that was 2 days ago, and, we were still working on wrapping some stuff up with that today. But like I say, if you look at 116 wrecks in a month inside the town limits, there again, everybody's a little bit behind the 8 ball as far as manpower, but Highway Patrol is if we had to rely on them to handle all 116, we'd probably still have some, no offense to them, but we'd probably still have some sitting out on the side of the road. But like I say, our guys do a real good job at getting those handled, getting there quick, and getting those taken care of. But you can see by that report kind of where those were and the dates that they were. And like I said, we look at this as, I don't just give this to you just to give you some paperwork. We look at this to see where these wrecks are happening, to see where we need to focus our manpower, to see where we need to go have street humps put back in the road, and work these accidents and the speeders and the stop sign violations and to see what we need to do. But like I say, that's a report from there. You guys have any questions or concerns or?
No, sir, I don't see anybody, but I'll tell you what, I appreciate what you did in the parade. Y'all did a marvelous job, and I understand that we had people in the parking lot at Food Line, which helped out, when I say people, officers in the Food Line parking lot, which was a dream.
We
So-
did, and that was largely in part to the town too. I know Adam was driving a truck in it himself, so like I said, town folks helped out a whole lot with that. But it's getting pretty popular. I think we're gonna have to get us a bigger float for the sheriff's office next year. We had, we started that so we could let officers, kids ride that float if they came and volunteered to help us during the parade. We had 28 people on that float. So like I said, we're gonna get us a bigger float next year.
There you go. Well, Andy, thank you for all you do. That brings us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, that brings us to the public hearing. Continuation of public hearing for pedestrian plan potential adoption. Mr. Hunsinger.
Mayor, Council, I don't have anything more to talk about, just, if you got any questions for me, I believe.
I've got something, if you want me to read this, I'll be happy to read this. It's kind of a touch of what the pedestrian plan's all about. I'll read it, so, I know, because we all received one, correct? We all got, yeah, okay. At the last meeting, we received a presentation on the town's proposed pedestrian plan update. A copy of that plan was sent to you the next day for your review. The purpose of the plan is to evaluate existing walking conditions and recommend future projects. This plan builds on and complements our other plans and efforts, including the Downtown Master Plan, Carolina Thread Trail, the UDO, ADA, and others. What the citizens have to say. We all know that walking is healthy for our personal lives and for the environment. People will walk and exercise if they feel safe, and there is some connectivity. The staff and consultants working on the plan did a great deal of community outreach. What they heard was walking is important to residents. There are limited areas in which they feel safe and comfortable walking. Crossing major roads and intersections is a core safety concern. The citizens also recommended by the town and safety improvements to benefit both its citizens and businesses. Greenways are important recreational amenity and the transportation improvement. The need to strengthen regional relationships to help speed up pedestrian project implementation. The current recommendation includes 15.7 miles of sidewalks, 26.1 miles of side paths, and 11.9 miles of greenways. The sixth highest priority intersections are Old Monroe Road and Waxhaw Indian Trail Road, roadway crossings at Monroe Road and Greenway crossings, pedestrian crossings at Sun Valley High and shopping centers, Unionville Indian Trail Road and Faith Church Road, Chestnut Lane and Potter Road, Indian Trail Fairview Road, and Greenway connection. The result of the town's work should be a pedestrian network that provides connectivity and safety. This will be accomplished through sidewalk construction, including new sidewalks and connecting existing sidewalks. The construction of side paths and greenways, along with other safety features such as improved pedestrian markings, lighting, and various traffic calming strategies, will improve the walkability and connectivity in Indian Trail. Adopting this plan is the first step towards a long-term commitment to build a better and safer community. And I think that was just basically what the plan, it was an outline of the plan.
Yeah, it's an overview, and I would add that I think 2 or 3 of the 6 are already going to be fixed intersection-wise because they're on Old Monroe Road, so, which is a good thing. So they were obviously high priority because of crash data and everything else along that road. And so that's already going to be implemented, so we don't even have to worry about that. So that's a good thing.
Okay. Any questions? No discussion? We don't have anybody signed up for public comment, so we want to open and go ahead, Clarence.
I was going to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the pedestrian plan as presented.
Hold on one second. Don't we have to do
Open and close the public hearing.
open and close? Okay. Public comments. Can I get a motion to open? You want to do that?
Make a
Open and
motion
close?
to close public comments, open
Okay.
and close public comments.
All in favor? Unanimous. Now, go ahead, if you want to make the,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the pedestrian plan as presented.
okay, all in favor? Unanimous.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Tom.
Mayor.
All right, brings us to old business. Old Monroe Road betterments. Mr. Huntsinger.
Sorry, I thought I printed something out, but I didn't. All right. Again, we briefly touched on this in the budget workshop, but I didn't have final. I had numbers for the poles, but I didn't have a true number for the sidewalks, and so that's what we're going to talk about. It's both, obviously, but the reasons why and so forth and so on. All right, so this is just a snippet of the plan. If you look, for people in the audience, this is the Exxon, this is the old CVS back down here, the Exxon's up here. So this is the improvements of the intersection of Old Monroe Road and Indian Trail Road / Waxhaw Indian Trail Road. All right. So one of the things that the DOT could not do is do the masked arms, which is what we're doing over there at our Complete Street project, and what y'all approved to pay for on the Chestnut Parkway project is to put masked arms in there with black coated paint to, again, match everything that's going on and flow through the whole downtown area. Same thing, right? Well, they can't do that here. They have to use just metal poles. And it's because of how wide some of these intersections are. So, for instance, if you look on your screen, if you count them, these are lanes. Counting the island, you've got almost 7 lanes width there. That's one reason why they can't use the masked arms. So I'll give you an example. This is Johnson Road and Ballantyne Commons Parkway. You see how wide the intersection is. It's very famous, got the nice pillars, all the thing. Well, you see these metal poles here and back here, and I'll give you a close-up right there. That's just a straight metal pole. Now, again, we don't have to do those along Omer Road. They can do wood poles, and DOT would be happy to do it and just move along. But we wanted I believe this corridor to look a little bit better than just wood poles out there, like we have on 74. So we would, the cost is to put those type of poles up and black coated with the ped posts, which you can see on that screen as well. Those would be black coated as well. And you do that throughout that corridor, so everything matches. You got the Omer Road, you got the complete street, you got the Chestnut Parkway, everything's black coated. And that's what we want, at least in my opinion. So this was the cost DOT came up with to do all the poles that are holding traffic signals. Now, again, you're going to have power poles down through there, wooden poles. There's nothing we do about that. But the signalized poles that are going to be holding the lights up and the ped post, this is what it's going to cost to buy them and pay. And then, well, you're not going to have to buy the ped posts. You just have to paint them, but you have to buy the metal poles. And that's the $299,000. All right, now we talk about sidewalks. Again, and y'all very aware, you got sidewalks on both sides of the road right now in the design. You got a 5-foot on the, I call it the north end, and you got 10-foot wide on the south end, along the whole corridor. Now, the reason why they did that back in the day, because again, this was implemented before my time, was because one reason is the Carolina Thread Trail. This was a Union County effort that all the towns combined and went in there and did basically a plan of how we're going to do the Carolina Thread Trail through Union County. And this is our particular section of that plan. And as you can see right here, that's Omer Road. And that is our main corridor for a multi-use path. And so that's why it was implemented in the DOT design. As you can see in our PED plan that you just recently adopted, you see right there, highlighted in orange, that's Omer Road, and we call them side paths in our PED plan. That's between 8 and 10 feet. That's why the 10-foot's there is, again, it's part of the plan. And then we have our comp plan, which has a transportation section, and it basically talks about cross sections. And this is our boulevard cross section. And again, we tell developers to put 10-foot wide sidewalks out there on Omer Road because of this plan. And as you can see on both sides of the road, it's technically supposed to be 10 feet. Obviously, we don't have that in the DOT design, but again, at least we have it on one side of the road to complement the Carolina Thread Trail. All right, so DOT came up with this cost. Basically, there's a cost share and a betterment. The cost share is a 90% to 10% split. Now, that is different than what you approved at the Chestnut Parkway betterment. The Chestnut Parkway was a 70-30 split. We had to chip in more because our population now, based on their policy, kicks us up another percentage. So we had to pay more now. But back when this was agreed upon to do, we wasn't in that category, so we don't have to pay 10% of the cost share, which is a good thing. So the cost share basically is anything that is not technically out there that on one side of the road, concrete sidewalk wise, the DOT will put it in, but we have to cost share for it. The betterments is basically the multi-use path. It's basically that the grade, any kind of grading, again, you got to do a wider shoulder for it. So there's some grading involved in that. And then, of course, the concrete itself. Now, I will tell you, DOT decided, because there's more of a cost reduction, is they're showing right now that 10-foot wide multi-use path be asphalt, which is going to look to me kind of odd along the side of a roadway. So I'm going to look at basically a cost comparison, because it's going to be a little bit more than that for that betterment. So that 866,000 could go up a little bit. But for now, I just wanted to get you the numbers in front of you. And again, as you can see from here, we're kicking in 1 million, and they're kicking in 1.3 million to make that design happen, which is the 5 foot on one side, 10 foot on their side. So if you combine everything together, put the power poles in there, it's about an even split. We've got to pay 1.3, and they've got to pay 1.3. Now, I'll tell you, the project's not going to start till 2026. It's going to take probably 3 years, maybe even 4. Well, we don't have to pay this money. We don't have to pay out 1.3 till that time frame. So you're potentially looking at 2030 before we would then have to kick into 1.3. So in my opinion, we should just should take the time each budget season and just put back a little bit of money every year until we get to that point. If y'all are okay with moving forward in that direction. But since I don't have the additional cost for the concrete, I don't want to sit here and have y'all approve this tonight. We can come back in August, and I'll bring it back to you to approve, and I'll show the 2 options, and I'll see if you want to kick in a little extra for the concrete, which I would recommend. That's it. You got any questions?
Yeah, I do. Down on Monroe Road by Sun Valley Theater in the front there, are those sidewalks 10 foot?
They're not right now, no.
But once they,
Right. Now, on Wesley Chapel, we make them put in 8 foot, and it's a little bit different on Wesley Chapel. If you develop along Wesley Chapel, it's 8 foot wide. But everything on one road that's being developed is 10 foot. But Sun Valley side, obviously is not the case, because that was done, I don't know what year Sun Valley was developed. Do you remember? It was like early 2000s. So I don't even think that was even thought of at that time. That's why they've got
so
5
those
foot out
sidewalks
there.
are coming up probably?
Yeah.
And replaced? Okay.
Well, they'll have to be shifted and moved here and there, but yes. But that's the reason why they don't show 10 foot right now is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
The Sun Valley side.
So without the betterments,
Right.
what will the DOT put in?
If you don't do the betterments, all right, so you get wood poles in, obviously, for the poles itself. So it's all wood poles.
Yeah, no cost they'll put in the poles. right?
They'll just get put in the poles, and we don't have to do, yes, absolutely. The sidewalks, basically, they will just replace the sidewalks that are out there right now, and that would be it. They would not add any new sidewalk.
So they would put a 5 foot sidewalk on each side.
No. Yeah, you would bet at a minimum, you would get one sidewalk on one side.
So we get one 5 foot sidewalk on one side.
Yep.
So what is our cost to do a 5 foot sidewalk on one side? On the other side?
I don't know, we didn't contemplate that alternative.
Because what you're contemplating is the DOT put a 5 foot on one side and we put 10 foot on the other side.
That's correct.
Okay, and we pay for all 10 feet.
Yes.
And, okay, so, okay, well, I just wondered, have you heard of, it's my understanding when these crews get done with Indian Trail Road, putting up
My
poles,
apologies, the call, let me correct myself here, sorry. The 10-foot wide section, the first 5 feet is the cost share. So we're only paying 10% of the first 5 feet. The other 5 feet is all us.
okay, so they're gonna put 5 feet on each side?
Correct,
Okay,
correct,
so
yeah.
we get
yeah.
5 feet on each side.
If we do the cost share, though, if you
That's cost
take
share,
away the
right.
cost share, we don't get the sidewalk on
Well,
both
right,
sides.
I'm looking at our cost share is 135,000.
Yeah,
And basically, if we do the poles and the extra 5 feet, because I read in your memo, for
Yeah.
every extra foot we do, we pay for it.
yeah,
Okay, so basically, you're looking at a cost of 135,000 versus, another 1.2 million for the betterments.
that would be correct.
Okay, but we don't do the betterments, we get wooden poles and 5 feet on each side. I
If you do- if you do the cost share,
think a 5 foot
yes.
sidewalk is plenty and adequate on each side if they're gonna do it for free. Kind of with me is, Old Monroe Road is not really a bicycle and walking, environment that people are begging for right now. And maybe you want to build a 10-foot sidewalk for the future, for future growth, but the kind of high-density growth you want, people don't want that. So it's kind of like you're paying an extra 1.2 million to plan for growth that kind of the public don't want. So,
Well,
I mean, that's kind of where, back to the polls is, I think some of these crews over here said that once they get done with Indian Trail Road, they're going down Old Monroe Road replacing poles, correct?
yeah, they got to move them back because of the widening.
Were they gonna put in new poles though?
Yeah, they have to.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking is, we're looking at putting in metal poles to replace brand-new wooden poles.
They're not replacing signal poles, they're replacing power poles.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, you know, but still so they're putting in new poles, okay.
Yeah.
I just looked up how long, I didn't know how long a wooden pole lasts, but according to the Oregon State University Department of Wood Science and Engineering, I didn't realize they can last 50 to 90 years. So, anyway, my feeling is if we got down the road, we got extra $1.2 million, then instead of spending it on sidewalks and better poles let's put that money in Indian Trail Road Phase 2. I think people want road improvements
All right.
more so than extra 5 feet on a sidewalk, it's 10 foot. I mean, a 5-foot sidewalk to me is plenty. I mean, it's pretty, for the walk, for our town, I mean, so anyway, but that's my feeling.
Yeah, just to counter that point, the greenways that we're wanting to do in the future are basically all connecting back to Omer Road. And those will be multi-use paths, and that's the goal is, obviously, multimodal. If you connect that back to Omer Road and you don't have a multimodal path, and you're basically not, in my opinion, you could be 5 or 10 years down the road, and another council say, well, we want multi-use paths, and now we got to go back and put a multi-use path back on Omer Road at a higher cost when you could get it now and get it over with, and not even have to spend the effort or design to do it. That's just the counter argument, is you've tied greenways in multi-use paths to another multi-use path, and that was the goal. In the past, that was the goal.
I understand
Just
your point,
saying.
I just don't think it's 1.2 million nicer.
I understand. No, I get it. I get it.
It's pretty expensive.
An example to compare on this is I believe we're spending $1 million to widen Shady Bluff Lane. Is that correct? What is that?
Yeah, I think the actual construction is 750, but the whole design, right of way, and everything is almost $1 million.
So the council voted to spend that amount of money on, how long is that, about 1/8 of a mile or whatever? I mean,
Yeah, I couldn't
so-
tell you, but it's not very long.
That's right. And so, I mean, we're talking about the same amount of money to come in and do these sidewalks and do it right now. So why be chintzy there when you blow $1 million here and $1 million there on other projects? This is going to be right there in, the main drag down through, around Sun Valley High School and that area where we have so much commerce now already.
Well, I think the difference is we got 10 million from the state, and that went into Shady Bluff. So this project is not funded, correct?
No, these betterment's not funded.
Right, so, I'd be for it if we had the money from the state like Shady Bluff.
Right.
But we don't have any money, no one's giving us any, so we're sitting at zero. So right now, the cost would be totally on the taxpayer where, we got money for Shady Bluff and Indian Trail Road and everything from different places. So, if we had money coming in from the state, I say absolutely. I mean, but at this point, no, the taxpayer's on the hook for the 1.2 extra million, so that's the difference.
And the difference, though, is what's it going to cost if you put it off and have to come back and do it in the future. You're probably going to have to tear up sidewalks and do it right to begin with, so let's do it right now.
And can I talk?
ahead,
I'm sorry.
Chris.
And I'm correct to say, you said there's going to be a couple years before the funding is going to be needed for it anyway, so we can put it to the side a little bit at a time, so it's not a huge hit on the taxpayers, am I correct?
Yeah, I would guess at the earliest would be 2029.
Okay. I just was wanting to kind of do the math
Yeah.
in my head. Thank you.
Do you think this would affect Brandon Oaks as far as bringing any pedestrian traffic downtown or anything like that? multi-use?
Well, multi-use, yes, because if y'all fund the Phase 2 Complete Street, then we're going to have a multi-use path connected back to that intersection. So then they would go down Omer Road, be able to take a right, and go all straight downtown on to me, a safer path, but. Right, yeah, right.
And what's the term super street mean?
Super Street?
Yeah, because I heard that in the
Well,
rumblings.
they don't
of
call it
Monroe.
that anymore.
I know, but before it was going to be a faster speed limit and so forth, safety concern, that's my.
Yeah,
thought process.
it's they're called RCI intersections now, which is a reduced conflict intersection, basically meaning you've taken the left turn T-bone crash out of the equation. That's one reason they like it. That is safer for a pedestrian to cross because you've got less cycles of traffic lights, and then it's obviously more efficient because you have less cycles.
Okay.
So that's the three main reasons why they DOT likes it. It moves traffic, safe to cross, and eliminates the critical crashes.
I actually don't think they're going to raise the speed limit on Monroe Road. I actually think
I
it's
think
probably going to slow it down a little bit, isn't it? I mean, with
Well, I mean,
traffic circles.
they'll probably keep it, what is it right now, 45, right?
45.
Yeah, they'll probably keep it 45. It ain't gonna go down
Right.
unless we
Well,
request
and
a
I do
study.
think the traffic circles will keep it moving, but maybe slow it down.
Yeah,
a
once you
little
get to
bit.
Sun Valley, yeah, I mean, absolutely, that's gonna help slow traffic where you're gonna have the potentially most busy pedestrian traffic.
Todd, I'm curious, and I don't think you went over or too deep into it. Why do we want a 10-foot sidewalk? I mean, the 10-foot sidewalk is is it part of the thread trail?
The Carolina Thread Trail, which is a multi-jurisdiction, NC, North Carolina, gold is to connect communities. And so every town, city has it, and they're trying to implement it. And whatever, back in those days, again, I wasn't part of that Union County study, but whoever was back then selected that path to be Omer Road as the main corridor.
So does it require a 10-foot?
Yes. It has to be multimodal, meaning it needs to be wide enough to accommodate more than just a pedestrian walker.
And if that's true, how would that affect the thread trail if we didn't do a 10-foot? Would we, and I'm just asking, would we be required or asked to do it later to be part of that thread trail? Or would we
No.
just not be part of the thread trail?
You just wouldn't, it's just, again, it's not a requirement, but it's basically a mutual goal and agreement between towns and cities that they would want to provide more connectivity from multimodal transportation. Anyway, the whole point of it is, there's more traffic on the road, and you're trying to lessen that by giving people an alternative. And that's why everybody likes the light rail, because it's an alternative to, putting cars on the road, because eventually we can't widen roads anymore. You're gonna run out of the right of way. So you've got to be more inventive, and that's just one aspect of it.
So somebody from Mint Hill might want to ride their bike to Indian Trail on that trail?
If it connects all the way through there, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. Any other questions? All right, if there's no more questions, council, somebody want to make a motion? What do you want to do?
No, I'm just I gave this as kind of information. I want to give y'all an extra number for that concrete, because again, I don't think we should put asphalt path along that roadway, but again, if you choose the lesser number, I'm happy to let DOT know, but I'd like to get that number to y'all. So I'm gonna give you option A and option B in August, and then you would make the motion.
Well, the reason I did that, it's got motion
I know.
written beside it, so.
That's my fault, I apologize.
Okay,
I
so
apologize.
we don't need a motion, so.
No,
okay,
no,
well-
no, no, no.
Well, that'll make it a lot easier than one.
Standing down
There you
on
go.
those.
All
So
right.
just think on it, and I'll come back in August. No, I know.
All right, very good. Well, let's do combining Indian Trail Complete Street project in Navajo trail extension.
Again, I don't have a presentation on this. Again, I talked about it last meeting, that we were wanting to combine this. And so we've established the ordinance, we've taken that funds and put it into the CIP ordinance for the complete street. And I will answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, somebody want to give us a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance combining the Indian Trail Complete Street Project and the Navajo Trail Extension Project together.
All in favor? Unanimous.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you. Mr. McLam, ADA transition plan update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So really quick, just going to give you an update on the transition plan, and we've actually got news from today. So that's hot off the presses. So if you remember, we have done one update on this already, but just gave a little bit of background the last time, and that was on the reason why we're here where we're at. So the Americans for Disabilities Act is a civil rights law. It calls for self-assessment for any entity that is greater than 50 people that are paid on a relatively permanent basis. So that could be for us, that's part-time, that's y'all as council, that's full-time staff, that's anybody that's paid on a relatively permanent basis. It's a transition plan. It's how you get from where you are today, your deficiencies, and how you get to where you need to go in the future. It's how you mitigate that and get through that process. And you have to be working towards reasonable modifications of sidewalks or facilities or things like that. You know, if there's not a way, if you're in an old historic building, you can't go put an elevator in that building. But your modification could be you put a desk downstairs that somebody comes downstairs and works with an individual if they can't walk up the stairs. That's a modification that you can make. The town is behind in this process, but we are starting to make positive progress in moving forward. So just to kind of give you a timeline really quick, I did a little bit of research today while I was putting this presentation together. Actually, in FY17, the town tipped over that limit of that 50 people that are paid on a permanent basis standpoint. So from then till FY24, last year when y'all approved money to work on that self-assessment, there was a lag of some time where we were trying to figure out what to do. In FY20 through 23, we started making some progress. We've been doing things pretty steadily, at least on our project side, things that we do in the field on a daily basis, maintenance that happens, things like that. Also, some facilities were built to ADA standards, be it this building, be it some of the parks, be it other things that were done. After y'all approved funding, we went out and had an RFP process, and a vendor was approved for that. And actually, as of today, they have finished all of the right-of-way assessment. That is your hot-off-the-press news. I got an email about 4:30 this afternoon that they had finished the field assessment for right-of-way. They will now transition and start looking at our actual facilities, so the parks, town hall, all the buildings at all of our other facilities as well. Just some pictures of some of the things that they found out there that are deficiencies, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. So that first picture shows a cross slope that doesn't meet ADA compliance across that sidewalk and across the driveway. You have things as simple as just needing to reattach a truncated dome mat. But you also have handicap ramps that don't meet compliance. So they would be to go in and replace some of those ramps. Y'all just saw around town, DOT did that on a couple of their streets around town. That would be one of those type projects. Things in these pictures, one, you don't have a ramp in that picture on your, I guess it would still be on your right, it's on my right. And then on the left, there's something blocking the travel of the sidewalk. So it'd be working with the utility company to straighten that. And the one down the middle, we can all tell what the impediment is there. So it's working with the property owner to maintain their shrubbery there. Just a few more pictures. So the two pictures on the outside here are both showing vertical displacement, and that's what we've done a lot of work with a consultant the last couple of years, is they actually come out and they grind those vertical displacements if they can. It saves us a lot of money from having to rip them out because they can grind them and we don't have to rip out sections of sidewalk. And then the middle one, obviously, it's just a degraded panel that's broke down over time. And where are we going from here? So one bullet point I don't have on here, or tick mark, is Abby is actively working right now on another part of the ADA transition plan, and that is all of our town, our website, social media, everything that deals with that. She is working on right now getting that up to compliance. Her and I had a conversation earlier today, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. By the end of 2027, we have to be in full compliance with.
There was a recent DOJ ruling for ADA compliance for cities and counties, that they have to be in compliance if they're less than 50,000 population by 2027. So we're working toward that. We have a software that we're working on. Bobby and I are working together to kind of make our way through that to make sure we're compliant by that deadline.
And then what the other couple of bullets that you see there on the screen, through the budget process, y'all approved the second half of this project this year. So that was the FY25 budget. We will start that a facility assessment here in a couple of days. The plan will then be developed, and hopefully it will be by the end of the fiscal year. I hope by the end of the calendar year, we'll actually work with council to adopt a plan for how we'll make that transition. I want to forewarn y'all, it will be multi-million dollars, but there is no time frame of when you have to get to ultimate progress. You just have to be showing that you're trying to make progress. So we will be able to pick that threshold, that council, that the budget, that everything's comfortable with to be able to get there, but we have to be working towards it. And then FY26 plus will be doing that itself. And then I just thought this was a funny picture. That's another impediment in a sidewalk. Any questions?
Todd?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, go back, and I'm not sure if I heard all that, but when does this plan have to be implemented?
So
And
we
completed?
need to start implementing now. Like, we're actually already behind schedule. What Abby was talking about is all of our digital footprint has to be fully compliant by 2027. That's not the case with this, but they run simultaneously.
So, okay, so when's everything have to be installed then?
So we don't have a deadline. It's something that you're
Okay.
always working towards. You're always going to have sidewalks that start to fail. You're always going to have facilities that, a door needs to be modified. You're always going to have facilities that a restroom stall needs to be upgraded or things like that. So you're always going to be working towards that. But we need to be able to show progress for all the years that the town's been developing since 1907 through today for things that we haven't done. So that's what I'm saying. You will be shocked by the number that we will bring for the top line number, but we can pull that number down to a number we're comfortable with.
And this was required because of our town our size now, right?
Correct.
So, okay, so this isn't an option of.
It is not an option.
So, okay, I just, got to keep this in mind when we're looking at money and spending things on stuff because when do you think that we're going to have to start budgeting for this?
So we already do this today. We already spend
I know, but.
probably $150,000 to $200,000 a year doing
But you were
repairs.
talking millions, so I was thinking of the difference.
We won't need to spend $1 million a year.
Okay,
That,
all right, so I
that's,
misunderstood that.
yes.
My problem. Thank you, okay.
Stamberger, you still have a question?
You're welcome.
There's no other questions. Thank you.
All right,
Adam
thank
did a
y'all.
good job. Thank you. That brings us to new business, Chestnut Square Park Phase 2A change order. Mr. Hunsinger.
Mayor, Council, if you don't mind, I wanted to answer that lady's question about speed humps. They'll be done in July. Yeah. We had to add a couple of days to the resurfacing contract, but they're aware of it, so it'll get fixed. All right, so let's talk about change order. All right, normally, we don't come to council about the change orders because normally change orders are done, if there's scope change or anything like that, it's done through the contingency. You know, every contract has a 10% contingency item, and that's basically for unforeseen conditions. And normally, the change orders that are implemented usually are taken inside that, and then you don't have to spend over the contingency. Unfortunately, this time that had to change. So what is a change order? Again, a change order is an amendment to a construction contract that changes the contractor's scope of work. Most change orders modify the work required by contract documents, which in turn usually increase contract price, which is not the case as far as line items concerned at this juncture, and adjust the amount of time for the contractor to complete the work, or both. Contractor's not asking for additional time. Only additional time he's asking for right now is for rain days, just FYI. All right, so just go back. This is your funding sources. Again, you've seen this before, but again, the only change here, remember we went, I don't know if it was last meeting or not, the meeting before that, we did change the ordinance because we earned interest on the grant. That grant right there was $250,000 in the original ordinance. It is now $263 because we had $13,000 worth of interest. So we took that $13,000 off of the general fund, which at the time was right around 3 million. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, so 3.8, yeah, thank you. So anyway, that changed. So again, ordinance still stayed the same, $7.5 million for the entire project. Again, right now, we're talking about Phase 2A. Phase 2B is in review right now with the county. All right, so Phase 2 funding sources. Now, because we split the project in two, we had to figure out, you have to basically figure out, okay, what funding sources do you want to spend out? All right, obviously, we was going to spend out the stormwater because we were moving the pond in this phase, right? So that's an obvious one. The grant and bonds, as a directive through the manager and the finance director, we want to spend all the grant money and the bond money immediately and not sit on it. So we put those into this Phase 2A. So we had those three items, and then what was left over to get 2.9, that is the original construction contract cost right now is 2.949. To get to that point, we used capital reserve for the additional, which just came out to be 585. So remember, on the ordinance, we got 2 million capital reserve. We're only using 585 for this particular, and we're not using any general fund at this point. All right, just to clarify. And it's tricky, just so you know, in the back end of things with staff, this gets tricky because I have to set up the contract to pay out line items based on these funds. So I have a whole spreadsheet that breaks each line item of the contract to make sure it spends out correctly. It can be a task, so. All right, so we do have one change order right now, change order number 1, and I'll just tell you that was because when we bid out the contract, we had only minor comments back from NCDWQ on the erosion control plan. Well, for whatever reason, something changed at the last second. They wanted some additional things put on the design, which obviously raised the cost of the construction because they added line items. So we had to do a change order to combat that. So we used a contingency allowance, which was originally $229, took $25 off that. So right now we have a $203 contingency allowance, and that's what you saw in the memo. All right. So again, this is what it's going to look like if we don't move forward Phase 2B because of lack of, we can't get the sewer from the county. Then this is what you'll end up with for now. And that's on the rendering out there in the public park on the project sign, in case anybody was wondering. All right, this is the full scope. Again, we want to put a multi-use purpose field, turf field out there, and that open field that was going to be there in your rendering right there. All that open grass. You're going to have a field and you can have more parking. So right now, we're building this parking with some on-street parking, the parking lot, the on-street parking we're across the street from the volleyball courts. We're moving the pond. We're building everything on the boardwalk except for the roof, because that's a permitting thing, and that will require you to get sewer, which we don't have right now. And so Phase 2B is everything in the green. We are already grading out the bathroom that's going to be in the parking lot area, the small little green square you see on the left-hand side of your screen, and then the big area, that will be Phase 2B. All right. Again, parking was the main objective of this project. You've got 6 going in here. You've got 13 going in there. 92 going in the big parking lot area. And you've got 47 going through there. So that's 100, I think it's 152-ish parking spots. And that was the main goal, get more parking in the park, right? All right, so let's talk about the change order and the additional line items. All right, so I'm going to show some of these visually, but just to go over them, center island removal, that's the island I'll show you here in a minute. That was the only island out there along Chestnut Square Drive. We removed that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Undercut parking lot, future field, parallel parking areas, undercut retaining wall. We had to undercut the curb and sidewalk in places. We had to add additional sleeves. That was Bobby's fault because he needed more for future security out in the park. And my apologies, Bobby, I should have got with you beforehand. But it's a small item, but we already had sleeves in the driveways. Don't get me wrong, we had sleeves. We just need more sleeves. So unfortunately, we didn't have enough. Purchase bollards, that was a note on the plan that was evidently changed during the bid set and the design set. And what it said was the town would purchase the bollards. The contractor didn't have to. And, you know, I didn't have time to go out there and try to buy bollards. So I said, look, just go buy the bollards and put it into the contract. So that's why we had that. And then retaining wall is a cost savings we didn't have to pay for. And I'll explain that. And then the contingency allowance is obviously for these unforeseen conditions, which the undercut is an unforeseen condition. And I'll talk about that. Rock excavation, very small vein of rock that was found in the parking lot area. That's why it's a small cost that you'll see here in a little bit. And then the ECS, I wanted to put this in here because there's 2 different things going on here. You got a construction contract and then you have a geotechnical services contract. Well, unfortunately, because of the rain that we had during the micropile installations, ECS was out there the sleeve should have took probably a week and a half. They were out there over a month. And so, unfortunately, they sped through the $19,000 contract we had with them, so I needed an additional $5,000 for that. So we'll talk about that in a minute with the motions. All right, so going back to the undercut items. All right, so we already had undercut in the contract, and what it was for basically was this parking lot area. We put in there for a couple feet to be undercut, thinking, because you're going to have to get 100% compaction underneath that pavement. We figure, we're going to run in maybe some bad stuff. Who knows? Again, undercut is hard to gauge. It's a lot of times the guesswork in construction contracts. You put in what you think, and hopefully you don't overspend the contingency on unforeseen. And we've had this on all these projects in this area where we've had to do additional undercut here and there. But normally, obviously, it doesn't expand to the greater amount of the contingency, which this one did. And I'll explain. So anyway, so the parking lot area, okay, so we knew we had to undercut there, but we had to do more. We had to do an actual extra foot of undercut in the parking lot area. And then when we took the island out, which is the second red square, because that island was did not have underground drainage in it, and that was a cost savings from the previous administration when that park was built in 2013. I tried to convince them to put under draining islands. They didn't listen. So all that pavement and the full width of that pavement was basically had to be undercut. And so we had to basically fix all that. And that's why there's a $38,000 cost you'll see in that spreadsheet here in a minute, is undercutting that and the extra asphalt to be able to make that work. That's that 38,000. So, this section of on-street parking, again, this is on high ground. You figure you didn't need to undercut that. Unfortunately, it had to be undercutted. And then the wall, again, the wall here is on high ground. You would not assume you had to undercut that. Unfortunately, we had to undercut it. And then we had a section of sidewalk path behind the parking lot. Not all of it, but a section of it that unfortunately was bad soil, and we had to undercut that. All right, the big unforeseen was the field. Now, obviously, as you can see on the contours on your screen, that's the existing pond. We had money in there to obviously fill the pond in. The problem is the rest of the field. Didn't realize we were going to run in the bad enough dirt we ran into. And unfortunately, as you see on the contours at the bottom of the screen, we've got to add dirt to that field, in that area, because all that slopes, remember, it all slopes back down to the bottom of Shady Bluff. You know how Shady Bluff is with the contours. So all that, we had to do fill there. Well, you can't put fill in bad dirt. And we could have sat there and said, okay, fine, we won't do it this time. We'll wait till the next Phase 2B. Problem with that is, you don't know you're going to get sewer yet. That could sit for a couple of years. If you wait, you come back, something's going to get built there. I mean, let's be honest. It could change, but something's going to get built there in the future. But you're better off fixing it now and saving the money later, because undercut's not going to get any cheaper in the future. So as you can see on the screen, I don't know if you can see that, but that is contoured, meaning it's going to be crowned in the middle, that field. So it is going to drain. So all that good dirt we put back in there and contour away, if it has to sit, wait for sewer, and wait for a couple of years for the turf field, you've got positive drainage. You don't have to go back and undercut in the future. So to me, you bite the bullet now and don't waste taxpayers' money 2 or 3 years down the road. Now the cost savings. So that was all the undercut. That was the kind of the big ticket items that was a part of that. The 366,000 and a couple of thousand here and there, and I'll show you all that in the spreadsheet. So the cost savings was this retaining wall. Now, when we were designing this wall, the gentleman still lived in that house that's below down here, and obviously we didn't own the property at that time. That's the property we've purchased here recently. So the wall was put there because obviously, as you can see, when we take the wall out, the contours, the slope and everything encroaches into private property, which we couldn't do. So the wall had to be built in order to get the path around the pond. So now that we own the property and everything, we didn't need to build a wall, so we took it out of the contract. So both those walls, you got the wall on top I just talked about, and that wall, that was a combined $400,000 to build. And so we didn't have to build but half of it. So we had a $200,000 savings. So again, $200,000 savings there, $200,000 savings in contingency. So you thought $413,000, you're pretty safe as far as going over the project. Unfortunately, the other small items and that pavement, the island pavement issue is what kind of put us over the threshold. So here's a rundown, and this is what was in the memo. So again, the pavement, the undercut and everything in that road was $38,000 unforeseen. And then the undercut of the field that 360 is mostly the field and the parallel parking. And then you had small undercut items, the 5 and 6, which was the curb and the retaining wall. And then additional sleeves was only $2,400. The bollards were $7. And so if you equate all that with the little bit of rock we ran into, on the construction side, minus the ECS, now I've got it all added up together, it's $22,000 over. Technically, you're only $17,000 over the contract right now. And that's what the motion's about. We've got 2 motions in place. One motion is for the $17,000, and the other motion is for the additional $5,000 for the geotechnical, because we haven't did any compaction testing on the parking lot because it's still being built, and the berm earth berm that was built for the new pond that needs to be tested. So I'll take questions, but basically the two motions would be, as you see on your screen, and again, I'll take any questions right now.
You got 17 here, but you're asking for 22,230.77.
Right, but that's that 5,000 on the other motion. Yeah. I just wanted to show y'all in one memo. It would be too confusing to explain all that in memo, so I just kind of made it simple. No, absolutely.
Just from my understanding, when you remove the retaining wall, you still got the slope.
Yeah.
All that extra water that's running, is it going to cause a problem for anything else that's going to be built later? Is there something that should be French drain or something put there?
No, again, nobody knows what, at this time, what the town's going to do with the property. And in my view, you're going to build from Indian Trail Road back, more or less, not from that way. So I don't see it being a problem in the future, unless you just really max out the property development-wise. But in that very back, really, I don't think you would do anything more than, maybe more trails and amenities, stuff like that, not structures.
Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion?
Go ahead, Clarence, I'll let you do it.
All right, motion to approve authorizing the town.
Microphone.
I'm sorry?
I was telling you the microphone.
Oh, yeah. To approve, authorizing the town manager to execute change order number 2, granting additional funds for the Chestnut Park, Square Park, Phase 2 project for the amount not exceeding, 22?
No, 17.
Or 17, 231.
All in favor? Unanimous. Next recommendation, motion.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I'll make a motion to approve authorizing the town manager to execute supplement agreement number 1 for additional geotechnical services to ECS Southeast in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Todd.
I got one more thing. All right, so now we got that over with, I wanted to explain, we will be presenting a new ordinance for this project to you in August, and I'll tell you why. So remember, I talked about the grant earning interest, and so we added that 13,000 you see on your screen, and then to 263. Well, the park bond has been earning interest as well. And so obviously, we want to pay out the park bond as soon as possible with this project. So obviously, we held off, because obviously you want to hold off and keep earning interest. It's a good thing, right? So I talked to Jim, and we're getting close to about $70,000 of interest on that 1.8. So what I want to do is, obviously, we want to spend that out. So we're going to add to that, so that's 1.92. So we're going to add that to the ordinance and present it to y'all, well, not present it, but put it on a consent agenda item for y'all at the next meeting. What that'll change on the screen is, since we don't know what it's going to cost on Phase 2B yet, we're working on the engineer's estimate now. We're going to keep the ordinance at 7.5 still. So what you're doing basically is you're keeping capital reserve at $2 million. You're lessening your general fund of $70,000. And then you're adding that 1.9, which is the 70,000. And then you obviously, stormwater stays the same, that grant stays the same. So again, the 7.5 stays the same. We're just changing that out. And again, that's almost $100,000 of basically free money that we got. So that's a good thing. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Todd. Okay, down to discussion items, CRTPO update, Councilmember Alsobrooks. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped it. Let's do 10, I'm sorry. That's the one that's added. I grabbed the wrong, I've got two of them normally. Oh, this is for the resolution, yes. Let me find my correct. It is on mine, but, okay. So what do we need to do with this resolution? We don't need to read it, do we, or do we? No.
You don't need to. I just need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay.
I'll make the
Yeah,
motion.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution authorizing the town to assert counterclaims against Waste Connections of North Carolina.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, now, Clarence.
All right.
CRTPO, tell us a little about it.
All right, so I was asked by a citizen to give a CRTPO update at every meeting. And if you follow CRTPO, you'll understand there's a lot of acronyms and a lot of information that is more geared towards what's going on in Charlotte with I-77. But there's a nugget here that's going on that I want to bring before council and for the citizens. So the purpose of this memo is to make you aware and get your input on a proposed change to Charlotte Region Transportation Planning Organization, CRTPO, Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. The proposed change was discussed at the last CRTPO meeting, June 26. CRTPO operates under a weighted voted system. Charlotte has 31 votes, and 10 of the larger other communities, excluding Charlotte, receives 2 votes each. Indian Trail is one of the 10 larger communities and receives 2 votes. The remaining communities receive 1 vote each. Passage of any item requires 68 votes. Charlotte proposed this. There's a proposal to change the voting structure, which, if approved, would have Charlotte keeping their 31 votes. Of the 10 largest communities, excluding Charlotte, the top 6 would get 3 votes each, and the remaining 4 would get 2 votes each. Indian Trail would get 3 votes because we're in the top 6 of the biggest municipalities. The remaining communities, which is about 21, would get 1 vote each. Passage of any item under this new proposal would require 74 votes. The proposal was discussed at the June 26 meeting, and the chairman asked that the matter be voted on at the next CRTPO meeting in July. If you'd like to view the June 26 meeting, I would encourage you to look on their Facebook page or website. Discussion starts at 2 hours and 31 minutes in the meeting. Also, another matter I'd like to bring to the council's attention is that there will be a call for projects beginning in August. No action is needed from the council at this time. The town manager will be meeting with the appropriate TCC staff to look at possible projects for considerations to be submitted. So, in a nutshell, what it's saying is, again, that when we vote in CRTPO, it's a weighted vote. Charlotte has, some of the other municipalities brought up that it's unfair because Charlotte has so much weight, what they want, they get. But what Charlotte was saying is, hey, look, most of the time we're voting with you, and we propose that if you like, we can change this weighted vote, and that's their proposal. So, if you need any more information, I encourage you to talk to me personally. I can explain it to you. And also, I encourage everyone to look at the CRTPO meeting live. Again, it is our streaming live. There's a lot of information, and if you need help breaking it down or something, just let me know. So,
Good. Any questions? Go ahead. Clarence, that's a good presentation, and you do a really good job there. And I just wanted to ask you a question. How Indian Trail votes or how Union County votes are how many votes does Union County? Has anybody figured that out yet? What do we have as a county? And you don't figure it up now. That's
well, I have it. I should have it right here in front of me if you give me a second. But Monroe is no longer there, so you have Marshville that's there. They get 1 vote, their size. Middle Springs gets 1 vote with their size. Waxhaw will get 1 vote with their size. So
That's okay, but you said Monroe's not there?
yeah, they don't have a delegate there anymore, or I haven't seen. So
I mean, but they do have a delegate, they just don't show up. Is that what you're saying?
that part I don't know. I just know he doesn't show up. So
Yeah, well, I would assume they have somebody there. I mean, they should have somebody there. Okay, and last question to you, and this is just your observation of it. Regardless if you vote for it or if you don't vote for it, if you don't vote for it, and this is kind of political, if you don't vote for it, are you gonna make Charlotte on the a little bit aggravated side of you? And if we want something, you kind of want them to like you because they're carrying 31. It's kind of a catch-22 type thing. Is it coming down to voting for Charlotte or against Charlotte? Is that what it looks like it's doing?
Well, that's how it's proposed. You had, Matthews was a municipality that really had the biggest argument, and they felt it wasn't fair for Charlotte to carry so much. But again, Charlotte came back and said, hey, look, and they show proof, look, 70% of the time, I believe that's the number, we're all in agreement, so we're not going against you. So, and most of the time, that's the case. You don't really hear Charlotte going out on the island by themselves and saying, hey, look, this is what we want, this is what we're going to do, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Good job. Appreciate that. Okay, that brings us to, I think it's manager's update.
Actually, I was looking to see if Monroe was a member because we do pay an annual membership to belong to CRTPO, and it has been a good return on your investment. Particularly in the last 2 or 3 years, we've gotten a lot of money from CRTPO. And to that point, you have to be at the table, because if you're not at the table, sometimes you don't even get the breadcrumbs left over. So we certainly appreciate Councilmember Alsobrooks' involvement and the mayor's also. You've gotten a manager's report over the last couple days. I will not read that verbatim. I will hit some of the highlights. The auditors are here, or were here, doing some preliminary work, and they left like a half a day early or a day early, and that's generally a pretty good sign. It means that your staff, and particularly your finance staff, has done a good job preparing for the auditors to get here, and that the records are in good order, and they will be back. You don't want to get on the bad side of an audit because the state of North Carolina will come visit you real soon. We are finishing up a resurfacing contract. We typically resurface about 30 streets, give or take. We're finishing up the 2022, 2023 contract. And then they're going to be rolling right into the 23-24 contract in mid-August. And so if you want a list of those streets, if you'll see me or see Mr. Hunsinger, we'll be happy to accommodate you accordingly. That will begin in mid-August. We're also going out and we're looking at some streets because sometimes people don't landscape their land properly, and perhaps we'll have landscaping that will block certain intersections, stop signs. I almost ran through a stop sign the other day I didn't see in my neighborhood because of the landscaping. If you see something like that, let us know. We'll go out and look at it and try to take care of it. We're continuing on Indian Trail Road Phase 1 with right-of-way. We are making progress on that. We hope to have some very good news for you very soon. You've heard about the ADA transition plan, the emergency operation plan that we've talked about. That is underway now. The space needs study is also underway. DOT tomorrow will consider our request for surplus land, so we should be able to give you a report within hopefully 24 hours on how they rule on that. So I know some of you reached out to some of our local delegation. We certainly appreciate your efforts. I heard from one of them that said we'll be in touch shortly, and by gosh, the staff was, so we appreciate that. The Multi-Generational Community Center, we do have surveys underway on that. It's very important to get public input. I think we have had, Abby, 860 responses or 680 so far. Yeah, Hayden's keeping a thermometer about like the United Way that you see sometimes. There's a mini survey going on through August. There'll be a more robust survey. There will also be some public meetings being held to try to get the public's input as to what they feel that should be contained in a center. The folks that we've hired, once they've gotten the public input, they will also look at what services are offered in the community. If the council chooses to go forward with a community center, we obviously don't want to compete with someone like a Carolina Courts or, the ice skating ring or something like that. I can tell you there is a big demand in the community for people to have a place to gather. I saw a YouTube video this morning, as a matter of fact, about desirable places to live in North Carolina, particularly for people 55 and up. And if we're lucky enough, we'll get there. And just some of the more attractive places are people in the Raleigh-Durham area where there are a lot of senior centers and stuff like that. We don't have that in Western Union County. But this town hall provides a need at least twice a week for some of the people that will gather there. Part of what the consultant is doing is also developing a pro forma model to look at, one, how big should it be? Two, what should it cost? And three, how much will it cost to run? Because you don't want to really move forward without having that kind of information. So the report should be completed by the end of the year. They originally wanted to take longer, but we knew that this was something of interest to the council. And so once we get that, we will then give you some options to let the council decide how you want to do it. You may want to look at pay as you go. You may want to do some of that or some installment financing, but you'll also balance it with some of the other things that we're working on, some of the streets, buildings, et cetera. So I will be meeting with some of our key folks in town hall, particularly like Public Works and Engineering, to look at some of the things we have on our capital budget already, identify what other things we need to add, what's funded, what's not, what's the strategy moving forward, so we can present it to you and then let you make the decision that you feel is best for the town. One of the things I hope you have picked up tonight as we have walked through these various reports is that we don't do things in a vacuum or in a one-year increment. You heard tonight already looking at making decisions that will be impacted in 2030, which is 6 years down the road. So we're trying to widen our vision, see what our needs are, see where the money is and where it needs to be. So unless there's any other questions, I'll move on. I do want to let you know that it sounds hard to believe, but we are in July. And so one of the things that we do to help the Union County school system and the sheriff's office is to participate in a school supply drive. There will be a box delivered here in the lobby sometime this week, and we're looking for supplies, and we need them by August 28th. So I'm going to run through this list very slowly. We're looking for backpacks, number 2 pencils, pens, highlighters, markers, colored pencils, crayons, composition books, dividers, glue sticks, scissors for kids. I didn't know that lets kids have scissors, pencil box, gallon and sandwich bags, racers, pencil sharpeners. Here's a new one for me, earplugs and earbuds. They didn't have that when I was going to school. So if you're so inclined, we hope you'll give. I know that the staff will certainly participate, as we always do, and we certainly thank the sheriff's office for their leadership in that. There you go. All right. All right, last thing I want to mention, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up next time. And I think Councilmember Alsobrooks gave us a great lead-in about CRTPO. CRTPO will be here at our August meeting. We're going to meet at 5:30. We're going to have a workshop, and it's called CRTPO 101. So you will not be as knowledgeable as Mr. Alsobrooks. He has a couple years on us, but it will give you the basics. We would certainly encourage the public to come out and listen to how we do road planning, because this is probably one of the most important organizations that we belong to. We'll give you an update on some of the fund recipients from ARPA. You'll also give the tax collector an order to collect taxes, which is what she is supposed to be doing. And we also have an old road abandonment request from a developer. It's a dirt road off First Avenue. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor and Council, unless there are questions.
Doesn't look like it, so
Thank you.
Mike. Appreciate it. Ms. Cox?
Councilmember Ambergy?
I just want to recognize Brandy and Abby, or Abby and Brandy. They just celebrated their 5-year anniversary. Congratulations. God bless you for everything you guys do. And everyone have a great evening. God bless all.
Councilmember Alsobrooks.
All right. I want to say thank you to everyone who came out to the 4th of July parade. Thanks to Grace for riding with us. We had a good time on the float. One of the things I said when I was campaigning was I knew a lot of people from a lot of other different municipalities. So I think it's important to have those relationships. And I went back and I got my information on CRTPO. Hold on, there we go. So it shows that Fairview, Indian Trail, Marshville, Marvin, Mineral Springs, Monroe, Stallings, Waxhaw, Weatherton, Wesley Chapel, and Wingate. And Union County is there also. So Commissioner Brian Helms is at the meetings. And Union County gets 2 votes. Indian Trail gets 2 votes. The rest of them get 1 vote. But with that said, I went to a Stallings meeting last night, and we did pretty good. They were in and out of their meeting in less than an hour, and we did good tonight. But one of the reasons why I went is because, you know, just for the sake of the citizens, I've seen some stuff on social media that wasn't true as far as road construction. What happens to other municipalities affect us, and what we do affect other municipalities. At the side of Indian Trail that I live on, there's an intersection right there in Fincher Road where all the traffic coming through is coming in from, you know, Waxhaw, Weatherton, and things of that nature. And a lot of times I use Stallings. I actually go through Stallings to come here, come back to Indian Trail. And there was some stuff on social media saying that they were building a roundabout right there at Pleasant Plain and Potter's Road. And that's not true. But I say all this to say that Stallings, you know, Indian Trail is going through road construction. Stallings is going to be going through road construction. So it's not going to be pleasant with road construction, but once it's all done, it's going to be better for all of us. So just hang in there and, you know, be patient and we'll get there. Everybody have a good night.
Councilmember Gay.
Thank you all for coming. I'd like to mention Mr. Alsobrooks and also Captain Mullis. One thing they brought to us is something called Horse Sense, and it would tickle me. We had a big to-do about the change of the speed limit, and both of them got in their vehicles and went down the road and went back and forth at the different speeds, and after a big hullabaloo, there was a 38-second difference. So, you know, you got to use some common sense, and they've got it. And so I appreciate them going out and letting people know that it was not a crisis to drop it from 35 to 25 miles an hour. And eventually, with all the construction, it's probably going to save some rear-end accidents on the road and save folks a lot of aggravation and whatever, and hopefully be a lot safer during the construction. So anyway, hope you all are safe on your way home and have a great rest of the month. Thank you.
Councilmember Barber.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to remind everybody that the Back to School Bash, if you want to go online and register, that's going to be at Carolina Courts on Sunday, August 4th. You can register your child and everything. You can also register to volunteer if you like. There's also Back the Blue Ride and Concert fundraiser this Saturday. If you want to check it out, I think it ends at the VFW. So if you want to go along and check that out, you can wave as they go by and everything. So that's a good fundraiser. It really is. And the info on that is on the VFW Facebook page. I'd like to wish Martha Hemby, my friend here in Indian Trail, a happy birthday today. So today is her birthday. Jim, I think, has a birthday before we meet again. Happy birthday. I think you're, so. And Councilmember Amberg, he has a birthday here in July, so since we're not meeting till August, right? Isn't that correct? Happy birthday early. So, other than that, everybody have a happy summer. I appreciate y'all coming out to the 4th, and God bless you. Thank you.
Councilmember Buholic.
All right, don't have much to say other than, of course, come out to National Night Out. It's one of my favorite nights. It's so much fun to be able to go out, plus you get free hot dogs. Other than that, thank you all, everybody, for coming out, and I will see you all next time.
Mayor Cone.
I'd just like to thank the Sheriff's Department and staff for all your hard work at the parade on the 4th. It was a big success. Thank you very much. Boy Scouts, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you all that are here tonight. I appreciate all of you coming. And that being said, let's get this meeting over with, man. Let's get an adjourn motion here. So,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank y'all for coming.